Hello, welcome to Geopolitics again. With me today is Khurram Zaberi from Chicago, US, and this is Rana from Toronto, Canada. In this episode, again, thing world is ever ever changing, rapidly changing stage at the moment. Things are moving pretty fast, and we will do our best to keep you abreast of what is happening in the world. Like all of us, we already know that we have been there have been talks and mention of World War III. That's coming to our ears, and even Trump has mentioned a few times. And one of the prominent time was accusing Zelensky that you're going to cause World War III. Now it looks like this the other side of the table, Putin. So we will catch up on that just to give you a quick view what we're going to discuss today. And also in our technology segment today, we will be taking a deeper look on the real impact of AI. Now we know we have been talking about LLMs, we have been talking about humanoids, but I think this is the time we really need to deep dive into the meaningful impact of AI on our lives. With that, let's start with the World War III around the corner. The biggest question, I think, maybe a $1 trillion question, not $1 million question. That is this happening? Casey, what's your thought? You're on mute.
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Yeah, it's a very scary moment. I don't know, even within, that conflict happened between India and Pakistan, 4-day war. Like, I did not think that, the nuclear would actually fly over. But this, what we saw like 10 hours ago is just like, really unprecedented. And it just tells that we are already living in the new world where all these ballistic missiles and cruise missiles and tomahawks and all that like doesn't really matter. These drones are like actually coming in fast and coming in really in numbers. So it was really incredible the way it's being conducted and all those kind of things. So I'm just really concerned that how it's going to actually pan out. A lot of people are discussing in past whatever. I mean, a lot of spaces being conducted, a lot of discussions been happening that how the Russia is going to be actually responding back. But I personally think that the response is going to be very swift. I don't know whether it's going to be swift that within 24 hours we'll see that or not, but it's going to be really hard hitting. Now, where it's going to hit is going to actually keep itself restricted to. Uh, sorry, your voice is not
Yeah,
coming.
yeah. Sorry, Casey. Sorry to interrupt. But before we delve into that, what would be the response? Let's talk about what actually happened, so that the viewers who have not seen the news or who are not following the escalation. So, do you mind just quickly going through, like, Ukraine, I think, has targeted the bases in Russia like 10 hours ago. That's what you're trying to mention. So let's dissect what has happened and why it has happened and why Ukraine is escalating this while the peace talks are, I think, about to happen. Maybe Turkey is
Right.
going to be warning soon, and then there will be peace talks. So why this is happening? Let's talk about that. What exactly happened?
So far the reports are that about 40 or so Russian bombers has been hit on different airstrips. And the distance between them is just like in three time zones. I mean, I was really amazed to hear that. Like, I had to actually go and check it out whether it happened or not. Like, you would expect that it would happen in Eastern European side, like where the Moscow is, where Leningrad is, and all that. But you would not actually expect that it would go all the way to Siberia. So if you look at the Russian map, I mean, this is the biggest country of the world. Has about like God knows, like maybe last time I checked was about 12 time zones. So I don't know like how many time zones we are talking about. So across the continents, I mean, you start with Europe and then you go all the way to end of Asia. That's like pretty much half of the world. And for the drones to go all the way to Siberia is like, very well planned. So about 12 hours ago, we started to actually hear that, they're like very coordinated drone attacks has started to actually happen in Russia. And then Zelensky actually came out and tweeted about this, that they were planning for about a year and a half. And he actually laid down very details of it, that now um, it's not a matter of actually hiding anything at this point in time, because those very people who actually conducted this out of Russia now. And what we see is um, some of the automated stuff is being installed in some of the trucks where these drones were, and these are quadcopters. Like we are actually the pictures we have seen of the drones are quadcopters. Like I mean, it's $600, $700 worth of. But how much of it, the ammunition was actually attached to it? I don't think you can actually fly that much of it. But what we see in the footage, that black smoke is coming out and all those kind of things in their airfields, is just really some major stuff. Yeah.
So I think what the report says, again, we are not on the scene. We cannot tell you exactly what happened. So we are basing this analysis on the reports which we have gone through.
I would okay, so it's not like something which just appeared. It's all over social media, basically.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah, of
one thing.
course.
And secondly, those very drones actually took some footage out. So that footage was actually being taken off. So we see that the drones were hitting or some planes, like for instance, Tu-95s is being hit, the bomber planes, and the Tu-22 M3 were actually hit. So I mean, those are like some bombers which been used to attack or like bomb over Ukraine, for instance. So the Ukrainians are saying that we actually hit those very targets which used to actually hit us. So that's what's happening.
Got it. So basically, I think the reports are also there, of course, in social media and all the bigger news outlets reporting on this part, and some news reporting that they have smuggled these drones inside Russia to the near to that region, and from that region they flew them, and somebody started that operation, and it had a disastrous outcome. Now let's put this thing in the perspective of the peace talks. As we are, like, ironically, the peace, as we are nearing the peace, the things are getting worse and worse. There had been reports that Vladimir Putin, there was an assassination attempt as well a few days back, which is maybe not widely known, or more details haven't come out of that assassination attempt. We're also seeing at the same time that Trump has given up on Putin. The love and the romance is fading away very quickly. Why this is happening? What, like, if you put yourself in Putin's shoes, wouldn't be a good time to close this chapter and get onto a peace deal? You got a bigger chunk of the Ukraine, you got the minerals and whatnot, and you could have done the peace deal and came out of it. So what is stopping Vladimir Putin from this agreement, which Trump is saying that he did it for the Russian people?
So I think obviously we had this understanding that actually there's going to be a peace talks. It's going to happen in Istanbul, and we know for the very fact that Trump was really hoping that on the way back from UAE is going to actually, or Qatar is going to actually land in Istanbul in order to actually facilitate that all the peace negotiations, because at that time Zelensky was going to come, and then Trump was waiting that he'll get a nod from Putin, and that Putin would actually come to Istanbul like at the same time, and they would just sign the deal. But it didn't happen because Putin thought that since there's no pressure, it doesn't need to happen right now, and it can actually grab more land. But So that didn't happen. That got delayed, and Zelensky actually sent the famously, very famously said that I cannot just simply go there unless the presidential level on both sides are not going to be available. So that's why even Lavrov didn't come. So low level negotiation happened at that time, and then 2 weeks down the road, here comes Putin, and Trump was really uneasy. He started to actually feel uneasy, and he went on the Truth Social, his own social media, and said, I'm really upset, and he's gone crazy, and all those kind of things. He used the word crazy, as we discussed last time. But he did not know that Putin's helicopter has been attacked. Now, there are like mixed reports on this, like that hasn't actually come into the media, but we know for a fact that something happened, and it has come in the social media that his helicopter was attacked, and he was kind of like actually firing back from the helicopter. We don't have much details, and mainstream media didn't really cover that much. But Trump did not know that, and it was told to Trump at that particular time that this is what happened. So from the point when he actually says that he's gone crazy, he is actually took a step back and realized that exactly was what happened and why Putin is kind of like forcing it or coming hard on Ukraine. So there are like a lot of developments has been happening in this time. So in the meantime, now Zelensky actually claiming that they've been working on this year and a half, and now they have actually pushed back a big time. And I don't think Russia is not going to actually, take it lightly. But all those peace talks, I think Russia is going to come back, because if we are talking about that $40 billion worth of actually equipment is being devastated and being attacked, as claimed, that all these top planes is being actually taken out by these small drones of $600 ones. Um, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously,
we have seen that basically in this war, although it has a devastating effect on Ukraine, but one thing has positive has happened, and that is basically Ukraine has built this ability to build these drones, locally. Like they're building it on site. Like that's what they have excel in. That I think Zelensky offered that in the White House conversation as well. That Ukraine can give that technology to the US. That how they are building these Ukraines. Oh, sorry, Ukraine is building those drones now. If we look into this strategy, as soon as Trump announced that he's willing to negotiate the deal between Ukraine and Russia, we saw that Russia actually escalated the attack. They had the fierce attack while these conversations were happening. So, what is Putin's strategy? Is it the strategy to acquire more land mass before the peace deal happens, so that when the peace is agreed upon, whatever is in Russia's occupation, they can claim that what, this is what is belongs to us now. So we'll retain this land. But I think this is playing with the fire at the same time. You are infuriating US, which is the major supporter for Ukraine war, and actually has the ability to damage Russian militarily, right? Russia
right.
militarily. So in this case, this strategy of acquiring more land mass before the peace deal, is this worth a strategy in for Russia's uh, think tank and policy making?
I think it's not just about actually weighing in whether it's going to be actually, benefiting for Russia or not, but it was the time. I think Russia thought, or Putin thought, that nothing can be done to at this point in time. They were getting a free walkover, without realizing that they could come back hard. Um, so I think it's just a miscalculation that we could not figure it out even ourselves. Like I did not think that it would be even possible for Ukraine to actually come in that way. But
Mhm.
this is a new world, and those small drones can actually create a havoc. But I mean, one thing I'm pretty sure about, that this is not something which Ukraine could actually do by itself. There has to be some European nation who actually helped them do it or planned it, and planned them execute it. As you know, like going all the way to Siberia, so somebody has to be operating within the Russia itself, or driving their trucks around and leaving that autonomous drones to come out of the actual trucks and then go all over the world, all over the place. So
Yeah.
I mean, this was well planned. Maybe some satellite coverage has been provided to them also. So they were like very coordinated, concerted way. It all came down, come together. So
Mhm.
for Putin
So from
to
but Putin's strategy, like that is what Ukraine has done, right? So
right,
Ukraine it's understandable. I think Zelensky is trying to do tit for tat.
right.
That if Russia is coming hard on us, we will go hard on them. I think from Ukraine perspective, the strategy might be that we want to have a conversation in even terms. Like the more damage we do, the more credibility we will have on the table, the more negotiating power we can have on the table. But this could have adverse effects from the Ukraine perspective. That's a separate, I think, line of thinking. But right now we are focusing on Putin's strategy. Before this attack, what Ukraine has done, I'm talking about prior to this incident, the Russian army was going really hard on Ukraine. They hit some civilian areas. I think that's Trump complained about, and Trump was not happy about these attacks. So all of that, since the real inception of these peace talks, this has been the strategy from Putin's or Russian side of things. Now, is this really a strategy? Is it just greed for more land mass before the peace deal happens and everybody agrees? Or it is just not taking the peace talk seriously?
No, I think that's what it was. I mean, somehow it has to end. It just cannot actually go on unnoticed
Correct.
like for too longer period of time. So as I said, I mean, that would have been the calculation from Putin's side. It just simply failed to understand, or failed to preempt that there could be some sort of retaliation, because I don't think Putin or anybody could, because the
Mm.
only way it would be reciprocated was through the American support, and American support has been pulled out since Trump has come into the office. So
So
it's very
Ukraine is
apparent.
on its own at the moment. That's what we are seeing. So Ukraine is on its own. There's no support to Ukraine at this time militarily from US.
I don't think so. The only thing, I mean, the thing is, like, if you look at it, what's happening in the geopolitical scenario at this point in time, look at it like what happened in Singapore, for instance. So Pete Hegseth is all talking about China. Nobody is talking about Ukraine or Putin or anything
Mhm.
like around the world.
Mhm.
Everybody like from American side is talking about China, like how China is going to be, building all this influence and coming in hard on. So you all you have to do is to get what Americans are thinking is to listen to Pete Hegseth, and that's what will give you a fair understanding that America is no more interested in what happens between the Ukraine and Russia. The only countries are really being taken as a surprise in past 5 months is are the Europeans, because they do not have a clue what to do in this kind of situation. Because when Putin day like about 24 hours just before the attack, these drone attacks, Putin comes out and say, if the missiles are given to Ukraine by Germany, then Germany is going to be attacked.
Mhm.
So in this scenario, like you have to understand that every single European nation is kind of taken back that how they're going to actually start fighting Russia now.
Mhm.
So it's not that as simple. Yes, UK and France has got somewhat capability in terms of military capability, but effectively you're talking about all of Eastern Europe actually turn into a battleground if that would happen.
So let's move on to Trump and US. Europeans, of course, they have their skin in the game. They are next in line, so it matters to them. But since the inauguration day, Trump's inauguration ceremony, the first day he said he will be able to you know make this war disappear, stop this war, make a peace between these two countries. And after that he said, he was being sarcastic. So we know Trump is Trump. There's nothing that matches Trump in the world. But US and Trump, uh, since Trump has gotten involved in this war, this war is getting worse and worse day by day. So is this Trump who has jinxed this war? Is this the US strategy who has jinxed this war? Or is it just that Putin's idea of expansion is in play? What are the options? Like, what are the realities here?
I simply think that Trump wanted to have a business. I mean, that's what he's trying to do. Is like, I mean, if you look at the Middle East, how he's been claiming. I think the last night, he mentioned it ninth time that how he's made India and Pakistan come together for the ceasefire. So for any president to come out and repeating so many times, giving an example that it could actually take down both sides and put them on the table and say, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what I'm telling you to do. And they did. So before Pakistan or India could actually say that they are working on some sort of plan for the ceasefire, here comes Trump. He tweets and say, oh, ceasefire is going to happen at 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m. Indian time and 5 p.m. Pakistani time, or whatever time was it. But it was like 4 hours before the actual ceasefire was supposed to happen. And nobody at that point in time was just even calculating or contemplating that it's going to be the case, because it was with full swing. The war was happening. I mean, both sides were saying that, we're going to continue. And yet, Trump tweets both sides are going to actually have a, ceasefire. So similar sort of situation is expecting, and he expects the same thing with Israel. So what's happening in Israel is it can actually announce any minute now. I don't know. I mean, it was supposed to happen like literally a couple of hours ago, but I think maybe it delayed till tomorrow. That how the Gaza war is going to be, a couple of months ceasefire is going to come about, but the Hamas is saying no, it has to be a permanent one, and that's where it's getting stuck. So Trump saying, I did India and Pakistan, I did like Middle East, Hamas and Israel. Now only thing left here is Ukraine and Russia. So he was is his previous experience with Putin. He was pretty confident that it's going to happen. But Putin is Putin. It's not predictable. And Russia is not Israel. Russia is not Pakistan or India. Russia is like another superpower, or at least used to be one. And they have nuclear. They have like pretty much almost the same number of nuclear weapons as US, even more so. So for Russia to be submit in a similar fashion as he was there, as India and Pakistan or Israel and Hamas were able to do, I don't think Trump calculated it well. So that's what
Mhm.
the Trump is in Trump's mind.
Yes, so I think Trump, I mean, although Trump is, of course, president of US, and but I think the man, whatever he's saying, whatever he has said, is more kind of up in the air, like without any basis, without any calculations, deep calculations done on his part. And we have seen mostly even his cabinet members are not aware of those policies or those quick decision making by Trump. And then Trump himself has taken back many statements on like in front of cameras, that he never meant to say something. Like Zelensky is a dictator, one of the example is there. So it looks like since Trump has gotten himself in this war, things are getting worse and worse. I think this has given the opportunity to Putin to play with the U.S. and see and have a touch and feel of the U.S. policy and involvement in this war, and take maximum advantage. I think that's exactly what Zelensky was warning against. That Putin is not to be believed in, It's very dangerous and volatile personality to deal with. And we have seen this thing that an attempt was made to assassinate Vladimir Putin recently. And we will get the details, I think, later. Some documentary will become or something after, hopefully, not after the World War III. It would be before that. So there are three parties to this war. Of course, the two parties on the ground: Putin, Zelensky, and Trump, and US. Of course, Trump is representing US. So we've seen Putin, there was this attempt to assassinate Putin. Now, is there any possibility like that did not happen? Now, the second party is, of course, the poor Zelensky, who has been, you know, crying about the situation, letting everybody know that this is how it is going to end. So, is Zelensky at risk of elimination? How, and it is very surprising that after all this open criticism by Trump, open criticism by Trump administration, he has still somehow survived last few weeks after president's, after visit to the White House. So, first of all, is he at the risk of elimination? Like, would it be that he would be taken, you know, off the power of the negotiation table, and somebody, a third person shows up in his place? Or what is keeping Zelensky in the scene? How he has survived all of this so far? It's very intriguing for me, at least.
I mean, 4 months ago, it was very apparent that U.S. wanted him to be there, and it was very fair to for him to be there up till that point. But when Trump came in, obviously, all the whole support was pulled back, and now Europeans were in a dilemma that what to do, because it was like within a month that situation kind of unfolded, and then Europeans were, what should we do at this point in time? And France and UK are one side, but the real driving force behind whole of Europe is Germany. So Germany is doesn't have that kind of military muscle. You have to understand this. I mean, Germany is very new as compared to historical European nations, because Germany was so much smashed into and bent over and beaten up so badly that it was divided into east and west. So Germany is only there like for 30 years or so. So 35 years or so. So now during this time, um, obviously Germany has been driving the whole of Europe in past 25 years because of the eurozone, and underwriting every single country like Spain, Italy, um, the famous Greek, taken into situation where Greeks were just about to bankrupt, and if Germany wouldn't have actually come for help, it wouldn't be saved. So I mean, in that kind of a scenario, you have to understand that Germany is wholly relying on those American bases. I mean, the whole of Afghanistan war and Iraq war, whenever you would have the military personnel who would actually be wounded on the battleground, would be taken back to Germany, not to the US. Would be taken back to the Germany. That's where the base is. So that's like a front office, you can call it, for the U.S. operations. And now, so you have two places, Germany and Qatar. So those are the two places where Americans would actually conduct any of the, especially in this region. Obviously, you go all the way to South Korea and then Japan. That's totally towards the east. But on this side, if you have to conduct any operation, these are the two places. So now in this scenario, where would the Zelensky go? Um, it entirely depends on how long these European nations would want to put up a front. And in next 24 hours to 48 hours, anything could happen. And
Hmm.
if it's going to be
No, so
something,
my question, which I'm trying to focus at, is that is there anybody else in Ukraine that can replace Zelensky? Because I think Putin is not. Putin is a different animal. They tried to assassinate him. They couldn't. They couldn't get rid of him. He's not. He's very hard to negotiate. The second party natural comes to Zelensky, either to end the war, either you change Putin, which you cannot, or you replace Zelensky, which you can. I think, which is much more solution which is approachable. So is it possible from the US perspective or the European Union perspective or NATO perspective that Zelensky, there is a replacement in front of them for Zelensky? Is there any personality there, in your view, that can replace Zelensky in near future, or is Zelensky simply, there are many, of course, God forbid, some, just like they tried to do the assassination of Putin, it could be possible that Zelensky could be the target of assassination as well. So is it possible? Is there somebody, first of all, is there a placement in immediate sight that can represent Ukraine?
At this point in time, there that General Valery could be one of the option, but I don't think that that would be a viable option for anybody out there. I mean, effectively, you're talking about like actually a general taking over, although Zelensky himself is kind of like with the military background and everything. But you have to understand this: Zelensky has gone around a lot in recent times. In past couple of years, since the war started, he's been pretty much traveling all over the world. So it's not the matter of how the war is going to be fought; it's the matter of how you can get the support for it. So that probably one possible, contender. If you ask me point blank,
Mhm.
that if Zelensky is being taken out or something happens to him, who's going to be taken over? So it's going to be Larry, who's actually heading the armed forces at this point.
Got it. So let's move on. Now we have talked about like Zelensky, Putin, and this whole mess, and Trump has actually made this mess worse. That's what we are seeing. The more devastation is happening. Trump was promising us less devastation. Trump was promising that this is the foolish war, it should not have never have happened if it was he was in the office. And he said when he will come in the office he will stop this war. But things are getting worse and worse every day of Trump's presidency. Now, how can this where is the breaking point here? How it turns into WW3, like World War III? What are those triggers? What is stopping this in turning into World War III? And of course, any war is bad, and we are not wishing for it. We are just trying to analyze that if there is a possibility, what will trigger this widespread of war? At least uh, a regional war, there where all the other countries get involved, especially NATO countries.
I mean, nothing is stopping. It's purely what how Putin is going to react. That's what's stopping. So I just simply think that how calculated Putin's response would be. It entirely depends on that. I mean, if it's going to be devastated, that is going to fire cruise missiles on Ukraine, and if some sort of intelligence is being presented to him that those drones were provided to Ukraine by such and such country, then Putin actually start to attack that country, and that most likely going to be the European country. And if that happens, then effectively you're going to World War III kind of a scenario. Because
But
if
we
you
know,
hit,
Khurram, that the drones are the local technology from, like that's what has been claimed, and that's very obvious. Zelensky has mentioned it. We know that for a fact that they are being built inside Ukraine.
that's what
These
they're going to say. Obviously, this is exactly what the point I'm trying to make here, that they would say that, because you have to understand, the moment Zelensky says that it's been provided, or it doesn't say that, that it came from somewhere. That's it, because the 24 hours before, Putin says that if anything is being supplied to or to Ukrainians, like any of the military equipment by a third country, then we'll be attacking a third country, pointing towards Germany. So that's exactly what the point I'm saying. The Zelensky had to come out and say this. No, 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 no. We actually built this. Nobody actually gave it to us. So obviously he would say, but that's why I'm saying that if Russians would have a credible intelligence, that it was, I mean, Ukraine has been in war like for 3 years. How it was assembled, how the parts came in with that many number, how the ammunition was there. I mean, drone technology is very precise technology. You can't just simply, build it on a 3D printer.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to have like some, equipment to
So
actually, yeah.
on that note, I think India has taken some inspiration from Ukraine, and we have heard that after this conflict between India and Pakistan, India is now trying to develop their own drones locally. So we see how far it goes. Is hopefully that doesn't end, or hopefully that ends like a Rafale being a Pakistani.
But
But
again, by the way, there are reports that Indians have supplied since then. They have actually supplied to Armenia. They have actually talked. They've been in talks with Armenia, because Azerbaijan actually and Turkey supported Pakistan, so they are in talks with actually supplying some equipment to Armenia. But yet, India also actually supplied some equipment to Ukraine too, and that's why recently Lavrov was has shown a court shoulder to Indian delegation. That we all already know that. So Russians are really unhappy with Indians either. That we've been close ally for so long, and I think it was day before yesterday the major news came out that Lavrov said that in terms of the actual how India being aligned with the Western nations is quite upsetting to Russia, and they've
yeah,
been a long ally. Though that was the exact statement that
while we are
yeah,
discussing, Ukraine and Russia war, I think it's very important to just have a side note on India, that India has basically, if we look at it, they have not only lost the US support, they also lost Russian support. So they are basically dangling pointer at this time. That's a terminology we use in C++ programming, being a software engineer, a dangling pointer which points nowhere. So their support, I think their global foreign policy has failed miserably while they are losing the support from Russia. Also, they are losing support. They have already lost support from US because of their policies. I think too much eager involving in each and every situation. They think that they are the next like superpower after China, and I think they are paying the price for this miscalculation. Now we're still talking about the World War III, and God forbid if this happens, and we do not want this to go in that direction. And now it is in the hands of Putin and any credible intelligence report that can be verified that if this is coming from somewhere else, this could easily spread. But from Ukraine's perspective, what options Ukraine has? Ukraine is gonna use the missiles which I think Joe Biden provided them, and they give them the ability to fire at Russia. They have that capability. They have the drones. So if does it mean that if Ukraine fires U.S. missiles, then Russia is going to attack on U.S.? Or does it mean any European countries, only the local
no,
countries?
I don't think US is involved in this particular picture, like, or this particular attack. Um, and if it was, maybe at plan at that time, everything was handed over to Ukraine, and that's how maybe the parts. But I mean, I highly doubt that the US would actually go to that extent, because effectively, when you talk about that US getting involved, then effectively we are just literally around the core of World War III, because that's going to just like fly like this. And but as a limited sort of war on the European side, yes, there's a strong possibility that it would happen. But I think next 24 to 48 hours is really important. And then let's talk in the next session
Sure,
how the things would pan out.
sure.
Yeah, I think enough has been
Wonderful.
said about this.
No, that's great. That's great. So, of course, these wars are changing the every day, every perspective, every thing that is going to affect people around the globe, like us and like many like us as well. Now let's move on from our geopolitics section into the tech part of this podcast. And from now onwards, for our audience, we want to make sure that we cover the tech side of things on each and every podcast. So We'll break our podcast in two segments. One segment you have already watched here, and that was the politics segment. Our next segment is the tech. We have, I think, talked about it sometimes previously, that AI. Of course, everybody knows ChatGPT, everybody knows DeepSeek, everybody knows the LLM, and we have talked about it in the past. Now, AI has become the elephant in the room. Like, you cannot just ignore AI when you're talking about anything. Actually, wars could be happening due to AI as well. Um, like, they are fighting over minerals, supposedly, that are used to make chips, and chips are used to power AI. So that's where we are in this world at the moment. Now, talking about AI, I think after those DeepSeek from China, are we seeing any other contenders in this space other than OpenAI? Have things changed since then after the DeepSeek? The last time we touched base on it,
Oh
do you
yeah,
agree?
just go through the list.
Yeah,
I
let's
mean,
go through
there's
this.
so let me go through it. DeepSeek R1, Gamma 3, Q13, Davistrol,
Mhm.
Llama 4, QN 2.5, Llama 3.3, PHI 4, Llama 3.2. It's just like goes on and on. So everybody's, I mean, there are like three major ones. So you have to understand, like in terms of the actual model. So you have the obviously DeepSeek, then QN on the Chinese side of it. I'm talking about the open source ones. So the whatever that I said up till now is the open source one, but then you go into the
Google's.
established, the Western ones. So you have ChatGPT. Gemini is coming really strong. I mean, I've seen because they were like lagging behind big time, and I was expecting that the Google would be the top one, provided they have so much data available. And historically, for 25 years of data they have, why wouldn't they be doing something like with it? So Gemini is coming in fast, but they are not competing in a conventional sense with other like ChatGPT and Grok. Um, they are like in their own flavors. So, for instance, if you look at it, the Grok is like looking more so building upon its own data, but then is actually addressing the problem of all this fake news.
Hmm.
Because ultimately, what's happening is like all these fake videos, AI, and all that. And I think that's where the Elon is actually more concerned about. That ultimately, we're going to wake up one day and we're going to actually go through our news feed, and it's going to be all fake. You never know what's going to be there. So, for instance, I'm looking at these pictures, which is coming, which is showing me that Russia is burning all over the place. And we have seen Pakistan and India right now. It's just an AI war going on, and it's legit. They haven't even shown the picture, but the whole media, Indian media, is was saying that the Karachi port has been devastated, it's been attacked, thousands of people have been died. This is mainstream media is doing, saying it. Imagine if it's all over the place, and it's been kind of double checked and triple checked by different sources. How you can actually ascertain what exactly is true or not? So this is what's happening. So Grok is more focusing on. So now people have started actually typing in, Grok, is it correct, is it true? And then Grok comes in and say, okay, yeah, we have seen this, and these are the reports and everything. I actually tested it just now. So with this title, World War III around the corner, I said might as well actually try out or try it out what Gemini is saying, what Grok is saying, what ChatGPT is saying, and then it gave me a whole comparison that exactly these are the nuclear flashpoints in the world. So those three, and Gemini is more sort of integrated with their own Google Workplace. So Google is focusing more so on their, giving the right results, helping people out, writing something up with their emails, with their work, with work related stuff. And the Chat GPT, I'm actually surprised. You can, I was just building a website. I just wanted to actually push it out, and here comes like all it needs is 1 hour work, and it just gave me contents. It gave me how search engine optimization should be done, what kind of tags it should be used, what should be headings, what should be the meta tags, and all everything. What should be the content, FAQs, contact us, like all the substance, and how should I break it down? What should be the descriptions of it, and everything. And here you go. That's it. HTML, even the code, even the scripting of it. So even the scripts were actually written by the chat
Yeah,
GPT. So
so
it's
that's
really
exactly, I think that's really important point, I think,
yeah.
which you just made. And that actually connects with many other points which we want to discuss today. That you were able to do or create a website, by using ChatGPT, and you got the instructions and it gave you exactly what you need to do. Now, if we, I think we have been talking about this thing, and there have been many aspects of this capability that these LLMs have brought to the stage. Like LLMs can replace a sales representative. They can replace the chat, support that you get from. You go on a website and there's services and softwares that give you the ability that you can communicate as with the support team and get your problem solved or troubleshoot and whatnot. So of course that we have seen that this is the first industry segment that will be wiped out by ChatGPT or LLMs in general. ChatGPT is just one of them. Now we have seen this, that this capability is doable. We have seen the professional version of it. Many people are paying for this service. I think the biggest question mark which is being discussed in the world at the moment is that, is AI gonna replace the job market? Like people, is it gonna replace people in the jobs? We have already seen, there are already reports. It's not like hypothetical scenario. People are losing jobs uh, due to the initial, like this is the initial impact of AI that we are hearing. It's not full blown yet. It is going to escalate from this point onward. Now, I'm going to put two perspectives in front of you. One perspective is, oh, of course, this AI is great because it is increasing your productivity. And in case you just gave the example that it increased your productivity, it gave you the tags and everything, and you were able to do it. On the other side of things, the perspective is this: of course, it's going to increase the productivity of one developer, one engineer, or one entrepreneur. But what about the person who was actually going to work for you and implement this website? So that is potentially a job that has been eliminated by this AI, and you are not, like, you do not need to hire one. Now, there are two perspectives. One perspective is that this productivity is very crucial. It will increase the GDP, it will increase the economic benefit. The other side of things is saying that, this productivity is killer, it's going to eliminate jobs, it's going to crumble down the economy, people will lose jobs, the economy will stumble. So let's see, in your view, what do you think about these two perspectives? Which one is more closer to the reality? Of course, we still need to figure out the actual what's going to happen.
So, I mean, obviously, you have to look at it like not everything is going to be actually replaced by AI. I mean, there's going to be certain categories which is going to be replaced. And when I say replaced, I mean, one thing is replaced, which is like within 6 months. So, for instance, paralegal, if you want to actually do that, it's going to be replaced. I mean, you can replace it if you want. Certain things you cannot replace, but it would give you additional support. So once it gives you any additional support, what exactly happens is that the number of people you need to do a particular task is going to decrease. So for instance, if you need about 20 people, the same work can be done by 2 people over the time because they have like additional support. So for instance, if you want 20 people to do the static websites for you or Shopify websites for you, now you only need about like 4 people because you
Or
have
maybe
these
that,
tools.
yeah.
Yeah. So there are
Mm.
like two types. So for instance, I mean, paralegal is it can be pretty much totally
So
replaced.
let's talk about which are like, of course, replaceable and which are irreplaceable. Let's let's
So
uh,
for
let's
instance, customer services. Customer
Mm,
services can be actually totally replaced, because
mhm.
I have already seen that the quality of a call has improved so much, that is because of the Turing test. You remember, like, let me remind the people about the Turing test. So Turing test, about 70 years ago, 75 years ago, Turing said, when there's going to be a time when human cannot actually recognize that there is not a human being on the other side of the curtain, then the test is going to be passed. And now it's been passed, which means the humans cannot actually recognize that there's not a human but a machine on the other side of the curtain. Um, so now, if you are able to not recognize it, and it feels as if you are talking to the human, then customer services is gone. So that's
Sure. Okay,
100%.
let's go. Customer service is gone. What about the software engineering
Now,
development?
software engineering has got like different elements to it. So you have architecture, you have QA, you have coders, you have enterprise solution element. So it's not just one thing that you say, okay, this is one engineering. I mean, same thing with
I'm
any
talking
other
about the
engineering.
developers. I'm talking about the coders. Let's say coders,
Yeah,
developers.
coders can go. Coders can for sure go. I mean,
Mm.
I don't see any other. I mean, I can generate a code by writing a simple text. um I mean, HTML is totally gone. I mean, if I say to ChatGPT, okay, here's the text, I want to do this, generate a HTML code, it would generate a HTML code. Now, if you
Okay,
go to the C++ or Java, that's really a complex problem. But
but
the
they are
it's in
tools
this
that
it's in the second category. It's in the second
yeah,
category. So if I needed like a seven Java developers, now I need two,
yeah, yeah, maybe one. So
maybe one.
maybe one.
Right.
So okay, coding is gone. Sales representative.
Telemarketing. So telemarketing now used to have cold calls. Now you have like 20,000 calls per second. This machine can do 20,000. I mean, imagine that. And it's all human voice. So
Right.
this is what you can go and buy it right now. If you want to make a 20,000, AI calls, go ahead and do it. And you will get some business out of it. Companies are
Okay.
selling.
What about like these? I think people creating the logos. I think
Yeah.
creating short videos
So
and
logo,
all.
let me give you an example. So I recently I created a company. I needed a logo for it because I have to actually publish the website. So rather than telling the graphic designer to design a logo for me and give me like five logos, which I can choose one from, I just simply said, generate me a logo. And it gave me like 10 logos. And then those
Mhm.
logos I can forward to my graphic designer and say, okay, just give me amalgamation of these 10 logos, or I like this one, just recreate it for me. I don't want it like this, but I want it like this. So now the graphic designer doesn't have to communicate with me five times back and forth.
So basically, that's exactly what I did with my graphic designer as well,
Right.
working on a project. So from the graphic designing perspective, I think this human element is still important, but the interaction has reduced, as you just mentioned. So
Right.
I don't need to, that graphic designer now can maybe cater like 100 clients.
Right.
Before that, that person was only able to cater like maybe 10. Now she or he can do 100 clients because she's more productive. She doesn't have to go through the hassle of triggering the imagination and whatnot. So graphic designing at first phase is going to be affected, people will not be at least one person will be required instead of 10, so like tenfold reduction in that part. Content writing, I think we talked about, that has gotten affected. You can just type in there and chat gpt creates a beautiful content
Right.
that you can create, that you can just copy paste. You can ask it to improve it, add humor, reduce humor and whatnot. The only thing I think which ChatGPT has failed on one test, and that is my wife is very fond of ChatGPT, and I ask her to ask ChatGPT to tell me a joke that has never been told before. So the
Good.
amount of the joke was so weird that actually my kids. So first of all, we asked her to tell any joke in I think ChatGPT just copied a joke from somewhere, dad joke or something, and you know, spoke it out loud. And my kids were very happy. They laughed at it. But as soon as we asked it to write, to tell us a joke which has never been told before, it was so weird that at least like we we were shocked. It couldn't tell me a joke.
I can
Besides,
tell you. I can
yeah.
I can tell you. So all right, here's the freshly minted, never before told joke just for you. Why did the quantum physicist bring a ladder to the poetry slam? So nobody would get that, but yeah, we would probably the West, because he heard the metaphors were on another level of uncertainty. This is actually a really good one. I really like it. This is really a good one, actually. I love it.
That's one of the rare incidents that it came up with that joke. But
Let me
it's
repeat that again, whoever didn't get it. Why did the quantum physicist bring a ladder to the poetry slam?
hmm.
Because he heard the metaphors were on another level of uncertainty. Very good. Very good. I love it, actually.
Very deep, very deep, very deep. Okay, so what else? Like other than these paralegal will go. I think lawyers may it will take some time because lawyers are still needed. Somebody is a court is a matter of
No,
legislation.
because for the paralegal perspective, you have to understand that it's the major bulk of the work. One is that you actually go in front of the judge and you actually cross-examine and you say, okay, these are. But whatever you say, whatever the lawyer says over there or argue, is based on the content or the logic. Okay, so that logic needs to be driven well before the actual court hearing. Okay, so that logic used to be derived in a way. So two three lawyers on a bigger case would log themselves in a room, contemplate, ponder, look at the actual given scenarios, and then come up with some logical scenarios that, okay, on this basis we can actually fight this case. Now you put everything in the machine, and machine tells you, here it is. And that's the difference. So yes, the similar sort of scenario, you needed like a 7 Java developers, but now you only need one. So yes, you still need a lawyer to actually go and fight the case, but you don't need that many lawyers to actually, or their assistants to fight the case. You can just put it in the case, and then here
So
we
that's
come.
okay. Now let's collect all those categories. I'm pretty sure there are many other categories that we can come up with which will be affected. So we are at least reducing in my very back of the envelope calculation, like maybe at least 10 folds. Like you needed 10, maybe you need one, you need 20, you need two, or at least like 5 to 10 folds, let's say. And that's a huge amount of reduction of the workforce. Now those people, most of them, let's talk about coding, writing SQL for the databases,
No, but
writing code.
one thing you have to understand, I mean, this is like all virtual stuff we are talking about, like in terms of the actual text, where you
Correct.
need to say, but now there's another category coming in, and that's not far from today. That's like literally within 3 to 5 years. And that is where the actual physical body is becoming a AI. So, for instance, now you have Vimo in 3 cities in west of US, LA, San Francisco, and San Jose. 3 cities are currently have the autonomous cars going by themselves all around the city. There's no driver in them, and then it's been carrying passengers all over the from point A to point B.
So
Now
driving, of course.
it's a driving. So driving means like there's a machine, there's a something
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
happening in
So
between.
basically, any profession which is attached to the driving part of it, like truck drivers, taxi
On
drivers.
Tesla is launching in Austin, I think in a month's time. It's going to be totally autonomous. It's not going to be the FSD. It's not going to be autonomous driving. It's going to be 100% autonomous car. Like there's no human needed to drive the car.
Right. So let's talk, so let's focus on this pile of professions which will be, God forbid, jobless. I mean, It's not our wish that people become jobless. It's just
Why,
that.
God forbid, it should happen. What are you talking about? Like, we shouldn't be
Okay.
working. We came in this world to relax. We shouldn't be
No,
working.
I want to be so. My view is very human based. I don't want this to happen. Although I myself have studied AI, have been working with AI on and off since 2005, like 20 years now. My thought is that whatever is happening is not good for humanity in at large. We are making progress. That's great. Now, the point which I want to discuss, I think, and dissect is that amount of job loss, amount of people who will be not earning any income through their profession is going to be humongous if you
I don't
calculate
see
this.
it this way. I
Okay,
don't see it this
no,
way.
I know that you there are two categories of people. The one kind of people don't think about that. The other uh, others do. I'm in that category, and I want to see your perspective, and that's why we are having this conversation. That how do you calculate? So we have seen this hypothetical statements by JD Vance, by people who are actually going to make bucks out of this. They have their skin in the game. The investor group, and people who are really into AI, they want to do get benefit of this automation. I think one industry we did not talk about is processing, or preparation industry.
I was going to
That's a
say
key
that.
part as well. Yeah. So let's add that to the list as well. So for the audience, I think if you're not aware, one of the Uber's founder has launched. I mean, he's working on this startup that the team is working on preparing foods with the recipes and everything autonomously. 100% robots will do that. They take the order comes in, they grab the recipe, and they do the ingredients, and they make the food for you. They put it out the door. Some other the taxi like autonomous taxi comes in, takes the food, and delivers to you. So the problem solved. That's a huge industry as well. Now, my question is very simple. On one side of things, people are saying that this will improve the performance, this will improve the productivity. If you look from the investor perspective, they think that this is going to ROI is going to increase. Like I spend $100, now I can make $120 or $130 out of that investment. Previously, if I invest in something, I put $100, I get 110 or $105 out. So with that kind of ROI in the investment, of course, people with the money resources going to make money, because more ROI, they are expanding their business, they're making more money. But what about people? People like ordinary people who are coders, who are taxi drivers, who are workers in they make preparation food. They Somebody makes the dough and somebody cooks the pizza. What about those people? Those people going to be jobless. How come we are not talking about those people and we say that doesn't matter?
I think everybody has to start actually think to earn living, not in a typical way of actually being employed by somebody. You can always earn living by being entrepreneur. So I think a lot more people have to start thinking that in that direction. That what is out there, which is going to ultimately earn me living, and that's what the way forward is. And I think this is it feels a lot more simpler, but this is I'm of that opinion that if you are fresh graduate and you are not able to actually get the job, and if you are not even a graduate, you just came off the high school and you're not planning to actually do a degree, um, do not wait for a job, do a side hustle. Even when you are so, as compared to the person who's going to be actually going to the college for 4 years, you should be actually doing a side hustle for 4 years. And I've seen so many people actually doing this. By that time, it's going to take off your business. And there are still going to be tons of
I
businesses out
think
there.
I think you were spot on when you said that it's easier. It sounds so easy. We know that these people, 9 to 5ers, people who will earn their living by working for somebody else, is a different category of people.
Right.
They have the lowest level of risk, you know they can sustain. The ability to take on the risk is very low. They have not been trained. Their brain doesn't function like that. We have seen that not everybody can become an entrepreneur.
Right.
So I think this is easier said than done. That okay, start your entrepreneur, just turn yourself into an entrepreneur, start some business and whatnot. I don't think so. This is going to happen. This is going to affect those people mentally, physically, economically. It would have severe consequences if we look at it. So with that, I think my light has gone off, so I'll
You can
just
hire
put the
somebody to actually hold a light for you.
yeah, okay, I'll put another light. So with that, I think the job loss is going to be significant. I don't think so the GDP is going to grow. We are talking hypothetical terms. I think this is sugarcoating. The world is sugarcoating. The governments are sugarcoating that. Let this AI sink in, because I think this is a very crucial time in history. That if people, like ordinary people, is just like, I'll give an example. Being a rancher, that if you have a bunch of sheep and every day one sheep is taken by a wolf, and the other sheep are thinking, you know what, doesn't matter, we are safe because we have not been picked by the wolf yet. So wolf is going to come for you as well. I personally believe that this is the critical time in history where either government should get involved in legislation where they can at least protect these categories of jobs, where people should be given some either fixed compensation. We have talked about this, being a Canadian. I know that Canada is a social state, so there's a concept of this minimum payment. You get paid by the government and you don't have to do anything. That would be a wonderful idea. I think this is the time for that. I think, but that's my analysis. I want to see, Khurram, from your perspective, you're on the opposite side of things, how this is going to increase GDP. Like, let's say, if you are uh, in the food preparation business, you are cooking meals for the people, where people have lost jobs. Let's say if a country was made of 100 people, and out of 100, we're talking about maybe, let's say, 50% at least, or like 40% people have lost a job. How you think that your food preparation business is going to expand so much? People have so much money that they will just give you a call and order the food from you rather than cooking it themselves.
Okay, so another thing you have to actually look at it. Like I was looking at the numbers; those are not complete, but I think in next conversation we can actually look at it. I don't think that more than about half a billion people is going to be affected by it. So you have 7.5 billion people around the globe who don't even have to actually worry about this change.
How?
Just
Like,
simple numbers.
no, no, like, are you talking about the professions which we just went through, like
Exactly. So
travel?
I mean, the thing is, like, when you actually say that, there's going to be autonomous cars everywhere going around, and then all those people, thousands of or millions of people who have actually Uber drivers, they're going to actually lose their job. So effectively, it's like a very minute number in the total scheme of things. Same thing
Sure.
goes for other things, like how many people are linked with the US legal system or European legal system. I mean, those legal system we are talking about, like in a third world country other than Europe and developed world, is just negligible. I mean, you think like in China they need the lawyers to actually fight a case in that many numbers? I mean, that's a majority of the country. In India, for instance, it's 3 billion people in that one place where you don't have direct, application of all those replacements. Africa, South America, I mean, Far East, many countries. Like, I mean, literally, the major population of the world is not really directly affected by that change. So, whenever we actually look at it from that perspective, we have to look at it. How many people are we talking about? If it was half the world, like 4 billion people were getting affected by that, all of a sudden they were not going to actually get food, or like they were getting a food, not through the funds, but somewhere else, then it would have been different story. But I don't think like this drastic change is happening for more than a half a billion people.
Very good. I think that's a great argument, and that sets me for the thing I think which is being missed here. So we're talking about, let's say, coders. Let's say they are, I think US and Canada hosts a large number of uh, coders or developers, or like these tech companies, tech giants. At least I think, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but at least it is 5 to 10% of the population. And we talked about the paralegal, which is a very minute number. We talked about the drivers, which is not a significant number. We talked about the content creators and writers. I think that's a significant number, maybe 5 to 10% people who are associated. Hollywood, I think, is getting affected by AI because the
Already
script
getting it.
writing and everything is a large industry.
But another
So
thing you have to keep in mind, Hollywood is now, here's another angle to it in order to understand it. There are certain things which been attributed to AI and saying, okay, so because you can create another actor through AI, you don't need the actual actor, or you can go to the chat GPT and write a good screen script, rather than actually going to the professional script writer for past 30 years doing all this experience, right? But in reality, if you look at it, it's not 100% because of those AI tools that these people are getting laid off. It's primarily is happening that the actual viewing habits has been changing. So, in my opinion, its major effect is due to the viewing habits of the actual viewer rather than the actual AI generation. So, for
but
instance, so just let
yeah,
me explain on this particular point that now your new generation, which is the major chunk of it, is like really getting used to all this flipping of the reels and not cannot sit still to watch like a 2 hour movie.
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
more like it. And also now, how many are actually going? So when you actually go to watch the blockbuster, now blockbuster needs to actually do a business of like a $500 million, unless it's not, otherwise it's not worth to actually make one. And that's why you have like all these Netflix and Hulu's and Prime Video and all that is coming out, so people just like watch it now. Netflix is investing in the making movies, and Netflix cannot actually invest in a blockbuster, so it has to actually produce a low budget movie which it can actually give it to the Netflix viewers.
yeah.
so
All
so
right.
that's why I'm bringing this element that most of the time, like, we attribute this to the AI, but there are like other factors too.
Absolutely, totally agree with that. So, but if, let's say, if their habits were not changed, or if they were there, people still gonna lose the jobs because of AI. Like, I mean, either way.
Yeah.
So that's great. So I think the impact of these, I think we need to do the calculation. I think what we are missing is the statistics. Hopefully, in next couple of sessions, or after a couple of sessions, we will be in a position to accumulate some numbers so that we can share with the our viewers for their analysis and logically build this argument. But if you look at from the basic economics perspective, that when people lose their jobs, it's just not that those people lose the job, because there are people who are employed by those people. Let's say if I'm unemployed, I lose my job, then I'm hiring 5 to 10 more people, or actually contributing to their business through my contribution. Like, I'm hiring a gardener, or I'm hiring somebody to work for me. I will not be able to do that. So this has a ripple effect. It's not like contained to a certain population. If, let's say, according to your rough calculation, is half a billion, so you can easily extrapolate that it will maybe touch like 1.5 billion people, like 3 times more people that will be affected by this AI revolution. I think we have heard from people like presidents and prime ministers in the countries. We talk about Singapore, that the president of Singapore came on and has gone through this thing as well, that is going to have devastating effects. on people's lives. Now, moving from this point onwards, what are the options? Let's say either this way or that way. Hypothetically, we don't have the numbers. We'll get the numbers. Hopefully, we try to get some calculations done and see where we stand. But let's say if it does affect a significant number of population, what are the options for the government? Governments can do the legislation. They can regulate this sector right now before it gets out of hand, um, and how the governments, I'm pretty sure US is looking at it, Germany is looking at it, China is looking at it, how they plan to tackle this Jenny coming out of the bottle.
Look, I mean, right now the more concerning part for the government is the actual regulation, how the AI is going to be developed. That's more of a challenge than actually how the job's going to be actually controlled. I don't think government is much worried about anywhere in the world right now. I haven't seen any paper. I haven't seen any, going forward that okay, this is what our plan is. That how we're going to actually create jobs. I mean, fundamentally, if you look at it, governments and the new government in waiting actually does pay attention to it. That how they're going to create more jobs, but that's an election slogan. It's not about, I mean, they can cover it by actually saying that we're going to do this, and people will forget about the jobs. They'll just say, okay, we have more security, we have more business opportunities. I mean, Republicans wouldn't be able to actually come in power if it was such a big thing. So you have to understand, like, there are other elements that government is like a lot more. So 4 years down the line, nobody worries about like that. Okay, job figures is going to actually go up,
Mhm.
unemployment figures. So more so on the government's agenda is that how the AI is going to be developed, which is going to be fast developing, that it gets out of hands. So for instance, when DeepSeek comes out, nobody was expecting that it's going to come out like this. And now governments are getting worried more so that if it's going to start to play a role more so in conflicts, then smaller nations would have a lot bigger edge on bigger nations. So what we have seen in Russia today, that with fewer resources, and we have seen in Pakistan India war too, that Chinese equipment was one fourth the cost of the actual equipment which was out there on the Western equipment. So that's where you see that how AI is playing a role in order to actually process a lot more data and in a direction where it becomes like a lot more autonomous. That's where the governments are a lot more worried about rather than actually jobs.
So basically, governments are more worried about how to win wars with AI, how to
Correct.
stop from the other governments from getting competitive edge over them, especially US, who has already gotten the edge. I think US is more concerned, as you said,
I,
is on
I
how
think
to
you
make
haven't.
use of.
Have you seen the Mission Impossible yet or no?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I see.
So if you look at it, now this is the dilemma that on one side there is a thought process that okay, if entity is somewhat controlled and we have the control, then we can actually control it. And there's another argument that you cannot actually control it, so you have to destroy the entity. And
Yeah.
this is where this whole notion is that governments are of that opinion that somehow we somehow get control of the entity, whereas
Hmm.
they won't be able to control it the moment it comes in their control. Effectively, you become the world superpower, so only superpower in the world, and you won't be able to even control it.
So
So
you're
the
talking about the
ultimate
you're
superpower is
talking
going to
about
be that entity.
the AGI, right? General
AGI, yeah.
AGI.
Have
Okay.
you seen the Mission Impossible yet or no?
I mean, I have seen some
No,
of
no,
it.
no.
I mean,
You haven't seen it, so you have to
okay,
actually see it. Then you will get the idea what I'm talking about.
okay. So moving on from the government aspect of things, other than the Mission Impossible part, of course, China is fighting for the AI dominance. US doesn't want that to happen. US wants to dominate this thing. There are many other players in the market now, governments are more like outwardly looking into it, not like inwardly looking into it. We saw that OpenAI founder Sam Altman was brought to Congress, and he had given a very long, you know, hearing there, and explained what has happened, what how it's going to change. So it's going to have some impacts, but I think governments are okay. You were referring to a movie. I think now I need to refer to you to a movie, and that is um, the movie that is where the meteorite comes to the planet and it hits it, and an astronaut, or like a professor was warning about the governments about it, and the governments did not pay attention. They were fighting with each other, they were thinking, and they were looking at to save their political agenda and whatnot, and the meteorite comes in and it hits the planet. I think this is a very famous movie, and one of the actors is the same guy from Titanic. I'm forgetting his name. So
Mhm.
yeah, so
Leonardo.
yes. I think you should. I will give the. I will type the in the comments
Yeah,
the
send
movie
me the
name.
link. I'll probably watch it tonight.
Definitely. So I am of that opinion that the governments are so much busy in saving themselves, saving their agenda, saving their seat, saving their things, that they're not looking at the destruction of the population, which is about to happen if
Hmm.
AGI comes in and it is not regulated, it is not controlled. There are many organizations at this time, they have actually started these campaigns to create awareness about the effect of artificial intelligence. Now, moving on from our last segment to close
Hmm.
this conversation, what are the known unknowns? What we know that we don't know?
That's a very good question, and I think that's the last one we kept that we should discuss it. I think what we don't know that how far are we from AGI, and that's really something. There should be a clock. I mean, I don't know, like if there is a startup out there or some sort of like a calculation. Although there are like some calculations is being done, but I think there should be a you know a clock. We should say that this is this is what the timeline is for the AGI, and that's really important. So that's what we know. That's unknown. And then once one is going to be happening. Secondly, in terms of what is there's going to be bound to be ultimately um, conflicts, and that's known. But how it's going to happen, we don't know, and how it's going to pan out, we don't know. So, for instance, at one point in time, if you look at it in January, we didn't know exactly how the world is going to be panning out. But then you have the spanner in the works, and all of a sudden, Trump actually wins the election. And because of the Trump wins the election, the whole scenario is going to be actually changed in terms of the how world is going to actually pan out. So those are the two major known unknowns. Um,
Mhm.
but the AGI one is for sure. And then another financial system. So we know that for sure that this financial system cannot actually carry on for too long. But then, is it going to be a decentralized one? Is it going to be Bitcoin? Is it going to be BRICS? Is it going to be some third-party consensus solution? That's also kind of unknown. But the financial market has to happen.
Got it. So, before we, I think, close the conversation, let's go through quickly about some of the comments which we have gotten and questions. One question which I'm going to show on the screen, asked by Daniel Heather, and he's asking you the question that how Pakistan can become AI power like
Right.
the codis of the world, or coders of the world. Mhm.
I think you need the one way is like we already doing it. Like for instance, if you look in Pakistan, the freelancer community has grown significantly in past whatever 10 years. So that's one way of actually looking at it. But I think government has to, like for instance, if you look at the Bitcoin, I think we'll be in the next episode. We should discuss about how the this PCC, Pakistan Crypto Council, has come into being, and how Bilal bin Saqib is being appointed as the CEO. And now recently he's been escalated to a special advisor to the prime minister. And today, by the way, as we are conducting this, there is a meeting going on between the State Bank and the SEC and Finance Ministry and the PCC. So all of those guys are actually meeting to figure out how to deal with this kind of situation that they actually announced 3 months ago, that there is going to be a crypto council, but yet it's illegal to trade any crypto in Pakistan. So, um, as I said, use those tools, AI tools. Right now, come up with some startup has to come up with like a deep seek kind of a mentality, that they were able to come up with their own model, and same thing can be done in Pakistan. um, right now, what's been happening is everybody is talking about the actual tools. They're talking about Chat GPT can help them. They're talking about like how Grok is coming in as a solution for them. They're talking about Gemini can actually give them edge over certain things, but they are not fundamentally looking at developing some AI model. And I really hope that they should. Um, Another element you have to actually understand, that there's a gold mine of information available within, Urdu language, for instance, which is not on the web. So look at those models also. Then how can you actually digitize those? So there are like many other things they can actually kind of cap on and
Sure.
then look into, and that would be able to actually help them.
Great. So I think there's a separate conversation and more detailed conversation that we can have in future.
Right.
Thanks for the question, Daniel. Another comment, I think, about that it's all about US dollar hegemony behind scenes, because BRICS has hurt US dollar more than anyone. Minus Russia might be the only option for the US to
No,
save
that's
the
not true.
USD, which
Yeah, that's not true. I
yeah,
already said that. Like in terms of the actual financial system, it has to actually change, and that begs another, whole episode just to actually discuss about the financial system. And I would love to actually, because it's really important. But the thing is, like BRICS, yes, is a good alternate to actually provide the alternate financial system where people would be able to actually transact in their now, what would be the mechanism of that? That's an entirely different story, but it's not happening. If it was to happen, uh, it would happen 2 years ago, 5 years ago. But they are not fully ready. Yet there are moves in terms of actually bringing something together between those nations, 40, 40, 50 nations. But effectively, the moment you actually do that, what would happen? You would divide the world in two worlds, and the moment it happens, effectively what it means that world wouldn't be able to actually communicate with another world. And same thing happened with the Cold War. So for instance, you see on one side that the world is aligning with the US, but at the same time, world did not see that what was happening on the other side. For instance, if you look at the Russia was had its whole hegemony and a whole number of countries with Russia and USSR. So that's why the BRICS is not going to be an immediate thing unless we see similar sort of scenario where this World War III kind of a scenario emerges. That what we have actually seen in Pakistan is, um, sorry, not in Pakistan, but in Russia, that how Ukraine is becoming like so much hot, bad right now. So it's a similar sort of scenario, but let's see. But viable solution is the Bitcoin. Everybody is talking about the Bitcoin. US is building reserves. Pakistan recently announced it. Russia is looking into it. Middle Eastern countries is being recently been visited by Witkoff's son, and all these bigger companies are looking into it. But we'll discuss that Bitcoin element maybe in another episode. Would love to do that.
perfect. Wonderful. So I think I posted the name of the movies called Don't Look Up. So
Yeah, I think I have
if
seen it,
whoever,
but I'll see it again.
yeah, wonderful. So from your Mission Impossible response, from my side is Don't Look Up.
I won't. Okay. I think your connection is breaking up, so I'm not sure. Like now, it's satellites are really getting bombarded with, like, especially or overwhelming traffic has been going through them. That's why your Starlink isn't working at the moment, I think. But guys, I don't know whether he'll be able to come back, or I think we have to wait till he comes. I wanted to actually say Allah Hafiz like properly, but I mean he isn't back yet. So Rana is connects through the Starlink. So whenever you actually see him in the streaming, he is connected through the Starlink. So that tells you about the quality of the Starlink that is being worked, because he lives on the farm and there's no cable available, or there's no internet connection over there. So Starlink is the best option. But I'm really surprised when he actually said that this is how he's going to be connecting when we do these, we conduct these episodes and these sessions. Then how good of a connection is going to be. I was really wary of that, whether it's going to be good enough to have a conversation. But as you saw, there are like some really good arguments being made, some good conversation has been happening, and we didn't have much of a problem where the people are getting disconnected. So let's see if it comes back. Otherwise, that was the episode today, and because of the actual Russian element, what we saw or started to see is happening in Russia is very, um, you know. Alarming in a way that Ukraine was able to actually come and bomb Russia in such a way that we were not expecting from Ukraine, and that when the Russia is going to actually respond back, it's going to be really um, with full force, and that could very well turn into something of a level where uh, Europeans would get involved. And once the European gets involved, effectively what you are talking about is the World War III kind of a scenario, that it becomes a regional war. So once it becomes a regional war, then it's becoming a World War III kind of a scenario. So Rana is back. Can you hear us? So
Yes, I can hear. Sorry about the internet glitch.
So I
So I
think we are
think
just
you
about to close.
the
I built it up while you were not
end
here.
part. Yeah,
So let's wrap it
I'm
up
still
and then
seeing some
for the next.
lag on your end, but yeah, that has been a great conversation. We'll definitely get back to our audience in the next episode with something new. Till then, have a good day and
So that Rana was having a trouble. So I'll see you inshallah in next episode. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.